Good morning, good evening, everyone who's joining. Om Namo Narayani. We are now in the 38th week of Sri Lalitha's class, and today we will be looking at her 257th name to her 263rd name. Let us begin with our prayers. Om Jnana-rupāya vidmahi Shakti amsaya dhimahi Tanno Shakti amma prachodayāt. Om Jnana-rupāya vidmahi Shakti amsaya dhimahi Tanno Shakti amma prachodayāt. Om Jnana-rupāya vidmahi Shakti amsaya dhimahi Tanno Shakti amma prachodayāt. Om Sarva-mangala-mangalye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Sarva-mangala-mangalye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Sarva-mangala-mangalye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dhyanam Sindhuraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya-maulisphurataranayaka Sekharam Smitamukhim Apina Vakshoruham Panibhyam Alipurnaratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhratim Saumyam Ratna Ghatastha Rakta Charanam Dhyayit Paramambikam Dhyayit Padmasanastham Vikasita Vadanam Padmapatra Yatakshim Himabham Pitavastram Karakalita Lasat Hima Padmam Varangim Sarvalankara Yuktam Satatam Abhayatam Bhaktanam Ram Bhavanim Shri Vidyam Santamurtim Sakala Suranutam Sarva Sampat Pradatrim Sakunkuma Vilepanāmalika Chumbi Kasturikam Samanda Hasite Kshanam Sachara Chapa Pasankusam Asesha Janamohini Marunamalya Bhushojvalam Japa Kusuma Bhasuram Japa Vidhau Smaredambikam Arunam Karunatarangitakshim Dhrutapasankusha Pushpabana Chapam Animadhibiravratam Ayukhairahamityeva Vibhavaye Mahisim. Om Aim Hrim Śreem Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani. Let us start with her 257th name. Her 256th name also is related to this week's names. And we are continuing. Today's names are all about the different states a person, a being, a Jiva is a soul. Each individual, each being, the different states, each Jiva, the soul goes through in life and how she is in all of that. 257th name. Om Śreem jāgariṇyai namah swaha. 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 Om Śreem. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who is the waking state. We saw her earlier name, Vishwarupai, Om Śreem Vishwarupai namah swaha. And we saw Vishwa could mean the entire universe, totality, the Vishwam, Vishwa. The Vishwa could also mean the state of the name of the soul in the wakeful state, in the Jagrat state, is also called Vishwa. So in the wakeful state, like we are all in now, our senses are active, our mind is active, we are interacting with the materialistic world, the external world, and this engagement builds up the knowledge, and the knowledge is derived from all our sensory inputs, our intellect, everything is working together, the mind is receiving and it's all being processed, and we are in the full realm of the materialistic world, and our interactions are all live and active. And that is the Jagrat state. Jagrat is the wakeful. There is a usage in Tamil when someone is doing something, they're going out, they are advised, jāgariṇyai, be careful. And often, jāgariṇyai in common parlance, and We use it as be careful. And what it really means is be very alert, like all the senses, everything is sharp and alert. You're fully present in the moment. And that is the Jagrat state. When you're fully alert, then you can avert any harm or anything that can come. Your full presence will be able to assess it and take the better decision. So the Jagrat is that kind of alertness, that state of wakeful state. And for each individual, it is the Jagrat state, the wakeful state. And she is that Shakti in that state. And for all the beings, all the souls, all the life forms that are in the wakeful state, she is in that collective state also, in the individual state, and she's in that totality, collective state of all that in the Jagrat. So she is the waking state in the individual, she is the waking state in the whole of the creation. And from these names, for next like 15, 20 names, there will be a lot of our names discussing about the soul and the Brahman, the totality. And this is where the gross body is in the active form. We will look at the 258th name. Om Śreem swapantyai namah swaha. 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 Om Śreem. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who is in the dream state. Swapna is dream. And we can even see some, it's girls, baby girls are given the name Swapna. The Swapna literally means dream. And swapantyai, she's the one in the dream state. And in the dream state, the body is resting, the physical body is resting in the sense the internal work is going on, but the senses are resting. The senses are not working, but the mind continues to work in the dream state. And what is dream? Dreams are various types, but generally most of the dreams are like deep impressions that are held in the mind. And these impressions could be this lifetime, past lifetimes. Those impressions get a release and they come as vivid dreams, or they become as visions in the sleep. So these can surface as dreams. And in the dream state alone also, even though the mind is there, the mind is passive. We are like witnessing the dream. We see actions there. The subtle body is active. All the actions are happening in the subtle body. The physical body is lying down there and the mind is witnessing all of it. The mind is not engaged actively. So these thoughts do not convert it into action. The mind remains as a witness in the dream state, the swapna state. And her Shakti pervades through the swapna state. She is swapantyai. Like in the Jagrat state, the wakeful state, the state of the soul, there is a name for that. Vishwam. Like that, in the swapna state, the dream state, the soul has a name. It's called Taijasa. Taijasa. So her 259th name, Om Shri taijasātmikāyai namah swaha. 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 Om Shri. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who's the soul of Taijasa. The soul here is the Jivan. The Jivan, or the individual soul in the swapna state, is Taijasa, and she is the Taijasa state's Atmika. So she is the inherent essence, the Atma, the life force of the state in the dream state. The Taijasa, the soul which is called Taijasa. Soul here is the Jivan, the individual soul. The Taijasa, the soul's name is, state is called Taijasa. And she's the essence, she's the soul, Atmika of the Taijasa Jivan. And again, this is individual and collective. So in each individual Jiva that is going through the dream state, the Taijasa, the individual Taijasa, and the collective state of all the dream state in all the beings going through dreams. So again, individual and the collective form, it is she is there, it is her. And in the dream state, the subtle body is active. The gross body we saw is active in the Jagrat state, the wakeful state. In the Swapna state, the Taijasa subtle body is active. So the sense organs are the sense organs we use when we are awake are more or less resting, and in this, the impressions in the mind come up in the dream. And these subtle bodies that are active, again, these impressions are coming up and played in the dreams. And here, the mind is active, the intellect, the consciousness, those are there, but the sense organs are not active. We will look at her 260th name. Om Shri suptāyai namah swaha. 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 Om Shri. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who is the Shakti of the deep sleep, the state of deep sleep. The state of deep sleep is called Sushupti. Wakeful state is Jagrat, and she's jāgariṇyai. And the dream state, the swapna state, she's the svapantyai. Taijasa there. And here in the deep sleep state, which is called Sushupti, she is Suptaa. So she, in the Sushupti state, the deep sleep, there are no vivid dreams. It is without dreams. So I go to sleep and wake up in the morning. It's like I don't remember anything. There was totally free from all dreams and thoughts and all that. So the physical body is at rest. The senses are at rest. The subtle impressions in the mind are also at rest. And she is that state also. She is the Sushupti. And this is, we saw the gross body in the wakeful state. The subtle body is active in the dream state. In the deep sleep state, the causal body is the one that is more present, more active there. And in the deep sleep, there is no thought, no impressions, nothing in that deep, deep state. The individuality, the Jiva, is like merged in the causal body. We look at her 261st name. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Namah swaha. Again, the J end with that colon on top. You can, it's easier to pronounce it as G-N-Y-A, Gnya. That sound comes. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Namah swaha. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Namah swaha. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem Prajnātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who is the soul of the Jiva experiencing the deep sleep. Sushupti, Sushupti is the deep sleep state. And the soul there, that state is there, and the Jiva at that state is called Prajna. Like we have the Vishwam, Taijasa, the state in the deep sleep is called the Jiva, the soul is called Prajna. And she is the Atma of the Prajna. So she is that life essence, the Atma of the very soul of the Prajna's Jiva. Again, individual and the collective. So here, the Jiva, the individual soul, is in deep sleep. And Jiva is the Prajnan, and in the Sushupti, and she is that Shakti, that life force that permeates, that sustains, that is there throughout the Prajna state in the Sushupti, in the deep sleep. She is the Atmika of the Prajna. And Prajna is that awareness that in that deep sleep also, that state, in Tamil usage, there is when someone is unconscious or not here in the moment, people ask, does he have prajna? So is he awake? Is he alert and all that? So the individual is connected to that state of consciousness. So in an unconscious person, we say that. But in the deep sleep, that conscious state, that prajna, the jiva is again pervading through the entire jiva's life force, and she sustains, she is the atma through all these states. And this state, again in the prajna state, we are looking at the causal body, So when she is the prajnatmika, she is in the individual prajna. She pervades through the prajna state, the causal bodies of the entirety in creation, of all the beings, all the state of prajna. She pervades through that. She is the atma, the life force, through the totality of all the entire causal bodies in creation. Again, the individual and the collective. And we will look at her 262nd name. Om Shri Turyayai namah swaha. 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 Om Śreem. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who is the Turiya state, which transcends all the other three states of wakefulness, the Jagrat, the dream state, the Swapna state, and the deep sleep, Sushupti state. So the Turiya state is the fourth state Jiva life exists in, and she is that Turiya state. And once the wakeful, dream, and the deep sleep states transcend into the Turiya state, it is a state of ecstasy. And here, most of us, we can relate to the wakeful state and the dream state. We can wake up, recall some dreams, and we are conscious of our wakeful states. Those go into deep meditation. The yogis, they can develop the capacity, the capability to experience the deep sleep, Sushupti, as well as the Turiya state. And in the Turiya state, the state of ecstasy that transcends these, and she is that in the individual state of the Turiya, and she pervades in the collective state of the Turiya of all the Jivas that have reached the Turiya state. Here there are no names for the individual soul. As the mind and the senses are dropped, the soul is going closer and closer to the source, to her, to the divine. So there is less and less of self-identification. And when there is no self-identification, there is no separate name for the Jiva in that state. And it said like the Jiva is like already 50% merged in the divine in the Turiya state. So it's already immersed in the divine qualities. is experiencing all the divine nature, and its attachment to the other states are just for living in the world, but it's not attached to any of the self-identifications here. And the Turiya state, she is the individual as well as the collective form. And in how one reaches the state by the individual, the yogi's effort, his thoughts, and his own knowledge and his effort, and the internal experience. The Turiya state is called the fourth state. Turiya means four, the other third, beyond the third, the fourth. And Turiya comes with the state of astonishment. Is it like that? So there is no rigid structure to it, anything. It's like it flows with the moment, and everything is like ecstasy, joy in that state of that. There's just astonishment and delving into one's own self without the distractions of the senses and the mind that keeps pulling us to the external world. Yogi stills it and goes deep in to merge into the source, that she is the totality. And like 50% of that individuality is already gone, merged. It's become part of the divine. And already it's experiencing that state of ecstasy. (263rd name). Om Śreem Sarvavastha Vivarjitaye namah swaha. 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 Om Śreem. Salutations to Sri Lalitha, who transcends all states. After Turiya state, the fourth state, is a state often described as Turiya Atitam. Turiya Atitam is that exquisite, even beyond the Turiya state. So if like the Jiva, the individual soul, is already 50% merged in the divine state, divine consciousness, the Turiya Thitam state, the Jiva is totally, fully, completely merged. So there is no individual soul at that point. And here Sarva, all, Avastha is all the states. Sarva Avastha Vivarjitaye, she transcends. Lalita Narayani, she transcends all these states of existence of the Jiva, from the wakeful to the dream to the deep sleep, and even the Turiya state, where there is so much ecstasy, bliss, and there's so much of divine consciousness, and there's still a bit of that individuality is still there. In the Turiya Thitam, there is no more individuality. The individual Jiva is fully merged in the divine, and she transcends, it pervades, merges into the divine, and she transcends all these states. It is the journey of the Jiva, the individual soul, through all these states, and we go through it all. And we saw the different names, because when one goes into deep analysis of, when we go into the scriptures, what is existence, what is life, what is an individual life, then all these states come in this, when we try to understand the meaning of existence. What are the activities that happen in the wakeful state? We come here and it is the gross body, the Vishwa state. These are like governed by the different divine energies, qualities, that is called the Vaishvanara. It is the creative state where we learn, we interact from the world, grow. It is called the Brahma, the energy is there. The dream state, Swapna, the Taijasa, the Jivas, where the Jivas called Taijasa, Taijasan, both are fine. Where this is in the subtle body, where the inner desires manifest and the Kriya, Ichcha Shakti is there and it manifests. It is called the Hiranyagarbha state. And here the subtle body is what is active here. And this is like the Vishnu energy in us. And in the deep sleep, Sushupti, where the Jiva is called the Prajnan or Prajna, where the causal body of that individual soul is active. And this is governed by the Ishvara state, the divine. It's already like going into the deep causal state in the causal body. And beyond that, the transcendental state, the Turiya state, where there is ecstasy. There is no individual names for the Jiva anymore. And she pervades that, and it's like partially already merged in the divine. And in the Turiyatita, the individual soul's identity is lost, and it's fully merged in that. Very few beings, when they go into that state of their own will, can come back to be in that state of physical existence. Many, the soul, when it's so advanced and merged with the divine, many the individual soul sheds the body to go and merge in that. The physical body is not needed anymore at that point. But some, the enlightened masters, the beings, the divine incarnates, comes back because to teach all of us, this is the path, come along. So even though that individual existence as it appears is present, it is its mind, its ego, its intellect, everything, its presence is soaking totally in the divine state all the time. And we saw normal humans, life forms, we are aware of the physical form and the dream form. The yogis become more aware through their practices. They are able to still their mind and not let the senses go haywire. Many times we have difficulty settling in because our senses pull us out. Our senses, we learn from them. It is a process. We learn all the experiences, our knowledge we gain is through these sensory inputs. But when the Jiva, the soul, wants to go back to the source, these drop off or their intensity is not there, or the soul has a stronger strength to say no when it wants to say no. Many times our habits and our desires overrule us, and we get caught in all these points, various interests, and that like magnetizes us, pulls us away from the center. But when the soul's journey towards the center is stronger, then the pull to the external world becomes weaker, and they shed off, or they don't have such a strong say or control the Jiva's life that much. And in this journey, as it goes along, the yogi is able to do that through the practices, through the viveka, vairagya. We saw that will become stronger to say no to the distractions so they don't control the mind and the body, physical senses so much. So the soul becomes stronger. And there's another thing. Yeah, I was saying when the COVID came, why it's happening, all that. If the soul had strength, it would be able to ward it off. We are in state of life and world where the soul is not strong, our desires and our mind is becoming stronger. So we are not able to ward off these excesses that pull us away from the center, the core. And these practices help to strengthen the core, the soul. And one of the other usages, again in Tamil, we often say, when someone is struggling in life or struggling with something, they say, avastha padriye, avastha padriye. When these are all actually ingrained in day-to-day usage, but the root for this is, she is a sarva avastha. Avastha is these stages, these states. And we are caught up in these states and we are struggling in these states. So and it is like common usage saying, why you're struggling so much? We don't even relate it to the avastha that these states the jiva goes through. Avastha padri is like you're going through so many difficulties in this. So again, the jiva is going through all these tribulations and the life, and it's like all the experiences in the physical world, the manifest world. And those who have gone deeper, the yogi, those who are in the path, who are going back, focusing their efforts of going back to the center, the core that she is. One of the devotees says, let me have this body. They've experienced the ecstasy, they have merged in the divine, and that state, the masters, they are devotees. All the masters are devotees. The ultimate core is devotion, love for the divine. That is the source. And this devotee says, let me have this body invigorated by the nectar of pure Shakti manifested in me for the sake of worshipping thee. Some, again, devotees have said, I can merge totally into that nectar, that sugar, and become one with that. So I also become that nectar, I become the sugar. And having been there, they come out of that to that individual state to say, let me be the ant that can taste and enjoy the sugar. I have been there, I can become the divine, but I'd rather be the devotee that can enjoy the bliss of being with the divine, enjoy this, be able to worship the divine. So that is why the divine and the devotee are like two sides of the coin. One cannot do without the other, because the devotee of that caliber has gone into that state of purity of the divine, the Shiva state, and yet comes back to be in the state of Shakti in the world, to go through all the trials and tribulations of the world, so that ecstasy of the worship, ecstasy of being with the divine, that devotion, they still want to experience that, continue to experience that. And such people, such beings, whatever they say, even if it's simple statements, their thoughts are pure, their existence is pure, and all that they say is like it becomes mantras. Their words are so powerful, even simple statements. And one of the scriptures says, the wise should always be approached, whether they instruct or not, whether they teach, their guru, whatever, whether they do that or even not, because their ordinary conversations become instructions. just being in the presence of such beings, you've gone to those states, is enough. You know, in India and places that understand the depth of these things, even simple folks in villages, when they see someone in this who has gone through this path, there's so much devotion and respect and reverence for these people. They will go and see them. If someone, a great yogi or an enlightened master, he may not be rich, he may be looking very poor, but the villagers will flock to go and see him. And whenever they go and see someone, the wise one, the elders, they never go empty-handed. They always, the habit of offering something. They'll bring some food or fruit or whatever is in their capacity. They will come and offer it to that person. And this is, again, the soul understands the depth of the meaning of these enlightened masters or these souls that have gone through these avasthas and reached the higher end. And they're able to worship them, see the divine in them, and they're very reverent and humble. They go out and seek them. And that's why in India, and so much is accepted in society. It's not like rigid in other places, like you, even if in that state, an enlightened being, he doesn't converse, he sits like that, or he says a few words, he may not even talk like in great scriptures, like gurus, masters teaching, but they are in that state of ecstasy, always connected with the divine, and just being in their presence is enough. It's like light ignites light. Just being in their presence, the souls of all the other jivas that come in get ignited. So it's easier for the soul to become stronger in the presence of such jivas who've gone through this whole states, the avasthas, and transgress these. Here, the direct experience of the Atman, the soul, they are experiencing the divine, the Atman, the Atma, the soul within them as consciousness. They are consciously in that state. It's called Chaitanya. And knowledge, just whatever they say, becomes from that pure state, becomes the wisdom, becomes the instruction, whatever it is, and it is that gift. And they give freely of that wisdom and that love, and the soul that they have touched base with, they are experiencing, they are already integrated with the Atman within and the Atman without. So they have gone through that whole process. So this is the journey of the Jiva, and these names are describing this path that we go through. And this is a lot of deep philosophical talks about these, how the mind works, how the senses work, what happens in the deep sleep state, what happens in the swapna dream state, and how all these are integrated. Amma talks about it in one of the question and answers. This is volume 5, page 207. A devotee is asking, does our karma affect Maya, illusion, or does Maya affect karma? And Amma is saying, this is a question like, which was first, the chicken or the egg? When we first came from the divine, as Amma told, we all came so pure, because when you have come from the divine, you are pure. But by the time you come to this world, the divine starts to play with you in the form of Maya. So first Maya comes. Then from that Maya, we create Maya. So we create a personal Maya. So from the collective Maya, we start creating personal, individualized Maya. And then from that, the karma. And from the karma, we create more Maya, personal Maya. So this cyclical, interwoven with the senses, with the mind, or worldly interactions, this happens. So to get rid of that, we need the help of Maya, Mahamaya. She is Mahamaya. Sri Lalitha Narayani is Mahamaya, the totality. What is the best thing we can do to get rid of this? Is get rid of this karma. You cannot work with Maya because you don't know where she is. She is hiding. So Maya cannot be seen. She is hiding, Mahamaya. Sometimes she shows certain things which are only a glittering and which are not reality. And sometimes she just hides and covers. So while you can't work with Maya, we can work with karma. So when we focus on that, when we focus on our karma, then automatically the Maya starts to help us. So in the journey of the soul going through these avasthas to come from these states of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti to the Turiya, all these states, we are so caught up in the Maya of our own creation. We've come from the divine, the totality. Each one of us has that drop of that totality, the Jiva in us. But Jiva is getting covered by all these. From the main Maya that she is, we have created our own individual Maya. And the yogis and those who are in those practices work at clearing these Maya. And how do they do? Again, Namah gives it simply. We can't go chasing after Maya, these currents, because it's hidden. We cannot access her because she's not there visible. So we focus on our karma. And when we work on the karma, then the Maya comes to help us go through these stages, to go back to the source where we came from. Mama blesses you all. Om Namo Narayani. Let us chant this week's mantras together. Om Śreem jāgariṇyai namah swaha. Om Śreem jāgariṇyai namah swaha. Om Śreem jāgariṇyai namah swaha. Om Śreem svapantyai namah swaha. Om Śreem svapantyai namah swaha. Om Śreem svapantyai namah swaha. Om Śreem taijasātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem taijasātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem taijasātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem suptāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem suptāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem suptāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem prajñātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem prajñātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem prajñātmikāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem turyāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem turyāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem Turyāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem sarvavastha vivarjitāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem sarvavastha vivarjitāyai namah swaha. Om Śreem sarvavastha vivarjitāyai namah swaha. Om sarvamangala mangalye shive sarvartha sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Swaha. Om Namo Narayana. Do you have any questions? The names are going deeper and deeper into our existence to see how we interact with creation. What is our relationship with the creation? If there are no questions, can we end the recording?